Welcome to Casual Conversation, aka Casual Convo. And the reason why I want to start this segment is so that I can bring attention to certain topics and just talk about things in general without feeling like I need to script things out or do some deep dive type of analysis on things. I have ideas for stuff like that down the road, or just topics that I'm like definitely more passionate or knowledgeable about, or topics that I can become knowledgeable about. We'll get right to the chase with this one. So this one's going to be a general discussion about mental health, the complications that tend to come up with mental health in general, and trying to just figure out, your life. There is a lot that can be said about mental health in general. There are plenty that understand it, plenty that don't understand it. One of the things that I can at least recommend is keeping a focus on when you have the thoughts that you have that are intrusive, that go against your well-being, that keep you from being able to do whatever it is that you want to do or need to get done. You can't allow your mind to make you paralyzed. There's choice paralysis, and there's just other forms of thought loops and other stuff that'll keep you from being able to do what you need to do. The way that I've had to go about my own mental health is by essentially forcing myself to immediately analyze whatever garbage thought that I'm thinking. Whatever shit's on my mind, I have to handle it right then and there, or it'll just be put off to the side and come up later, or I'll end up doing what I used to do. When I had first noticed my mental health issues and knew that I needed to either get a form of help, which I have tried in the past, and the basic forms of therapy just aren't it for me, so because of my area and the fact that it's hard to find resources for like a higher expert, like professional essentially, like one that can take things beyond basic therapy, I've just decided to take on my own mental health. They wanted me on medications, which I did SSRIs for a very short period of time. And when I say a short period of time, it was well under a year. I think only a few months I was on these things. And they helped within, because they told me it could take up to a month for stuff to help. And I had noticed stuff within like the first week or two. It was actually within the month period and a little bit into like the second month, I think it was, because this has been a few years at this point since I've touched any of that. I noticed that it was a crutch because those emotions came back and whatnot, and it's just really kind of keying off to me that depression and anxiety and other mental health issues outside of something like, schizophrenia, not like a chemical imbalance or something that can just be directly solved with a pill. Schizophrenia is within my family, but I don't have that great of an understanding of it in general, so I'm not going to talk about it. I don't suffer with it. Anyway, to hop back onto topic, when it comes to depression and anxiety, I kind of realized quickly, at least for myself, that there's got to be more to this than chemical imbalance. What I need to do is work on forming tools in my mind in order to deal with it. In the few short years that I've really given an effort toward this, because I've been doing this since about mid-2020, because that's when I had my own mental health episode that ended up getting me into a psychiatric unit, which was fun. Not really. I ended up learning a lot from that experience, and I know the one thing I told myself from that point on was, I don't have it nearly as bad as a lot of these other patients that are in here dealing with stuff. They are suffering a lot worse than I have, so I need to do better about what I can do for myself. And I don't want to go back into this bitch because it feels kind of akin to a prison. You're held there against your will for X amount of days, some people months, other people years, or they're committed to an institution for the rest of their lives. There may have been one person that was committed there for the rest of their life, if I remember correctly. That paired with other people who were there for months on end, or who had just gotten in, so many days ago, but it was still approaching a month. I was able to be 5 days in, out. I don't even think I was there for the full part of the 5th day. But even just within that time, I was starting to go crazy just from the aspect of, oh my God, I have to be in here. So from that year on, I've been focusing on my own mental health. The results of that have been a lot better than they were when I was originally trying to take SSRIs and other mental health medication, or self-medicating through the use of marijuana and psychedelic substances. I would say that psychedelic substance was what breached the veil for me in terms of breaking my understanding of what reality is and starting to question myself and figure out who it is I actually am. And there was an experience I had much earlier in this year that allowed me to meet the creator entity as far as I'm concerned. That's what happened. It's not like it happened directly and I had a conversation or something, but I felt the presence and I got to feel the everything's okay and it's meant to be as it should be. That was the general feeling I got from that. And I still call into question that experience. And so ever since then, I just started working on getting off of the substances that I was crutching on. Because while marijuana helped me for close to several years, it became a crutch too. Once I had gotten past a lot of the immediate suicidal ideation I was feeling from like every day of every second of every day when it first started, just not wanting to be here and wanting to end things, to just every day intermittently throughout the day, or it would keep me down for a few hours and then I could distract myself with something. Then that eventually came to where it was just pretty much every day for the rest of my time from that up until just the beginning of this year. And that was from 2016 onward. And I know I'm lucky in that sense because I could have been suffering for a hell of a lot longer than I am now. There are plenty of people that suffer their entire lives with this stuff. The main point of it is just focus on you. Start getting those mental health tools. Start looking on places like YouTube about other people who are suffering with these issues and what they do to get through the day. Be willing to open your mind to suggestions, because you're going to hear stuff from some people and it's going to make you laugh. Like, oh, that sounds stupid, or that seems simple. Well, the saying that I've heard that has guided me through a lot is keep it simple, stupid, and oftentimes it is that. One of the main things I would say with mental health is that it usually goes downhill based on your perspective of the world. Mental health is less what's physically happening to you and more so what you're doing to your own mind. Usually when you have a lot of things physically going on, like you are just dealing with keeping a roof over your head and other aspects, but like you've got, a job that keeps you focused on stuff and you pretty much are sinking time into either trying to keep a family going or whatnot. It's that idle time that's really dangerous. I'm not saying that people with families don't get depressed and those things solve depression. They obviously don't. There are plenty of examples of that. But the more you're idle and the more your mind is idle, the more you start to get delusional with how things should be in your head. And it's not like those necessarily come from like, oh, you're just, you're looking at the world too negatively or whatever. It's not really a case of that. You could have a justifiable reason as to why you look at the world the way you do. However, the more you sit there and beat yourself up or say this shit sucks and I want it to stop, the more you're gonna think shit sucks and want it to stop. So what you have to stop doing is that to yourself. It may seem pointless, and the more angry you get at people that give you advice, it's just going to make you more angry. Do you really want to sit there for the rest of your life and be angry at life? Do you want to spend every single waking second angry and upset, sad, depressed about what's going on, about not having a girlfriend or not having other things set up in life? And that's the thing, is you're both distracted by yourself and what goes on in the outside world. So comparison is the thief of joy. Letting culture tell you what you should do to make yourself happy. Like if you don't have X amount of money, then you're not going to be happy. You can't let people tell you these things. You can't let people tell you, marriage is the thing that you should absolutely 100% go for if you feel like that's not your route in life and that you've either been betrayed or have had problems doing it. The only way you're going to feel healthy enough to be able to pursue some of these things that you actually want to pursue is by focusing on the thoughts that you think every day. And instead of sitting there and putting things off in your mind, if you know there's things that you want to do, or especially things you know you need to do and you keep putting them off, I am very guilty of this. I'm a procrastinator by heart. The last thing you want to do is route this stuff in your mind to where you like plan it out. Like if you need to clean a lot of your house or a lot of different rooms and get stuff organized and figure out what you don't need anymore and throw it away, like I have to do that to a decent extent from when I moved into the place that I live right now. The more you try to plan out that whole thing or envision it happening, if you've got a vivid imagination, you'll get tired just from thinking about it. You'll lose motivation from just thinking about it. You have to work one step at a time of getting up and making something happen. Once you do that, whether it be with something that you enjoy or getting something done that, you can be proud of, like, getting a project done that you needed to get done, replacing something with a sink or something, or getting a recipe cooked that you've been putting off for a while, but you've been wanting to make it because it'll be healthy for you. The internet's a great tool. It's a blessing and a curse, and the more you use it for blessings, the better your life's going to be. And you can trick these algorithms into giving you blessings. You don't have to just sit there and let it pump you all sorts of crap. Stay away from news media. Stay away from focusing on world events all the time. We all know there's plenty that is going on right now that you could keep your eyes on, and it's not worth doing it 24/7. The 24/7 news cycle is just one of the worst things to have ever happened to humanity, because knowing what's going on every single second where you can't do anything about it anyway isn't going to change anything. Situations take time to develop, and trying to come up with an answer the second you see something, and now that we have it online, it's even worse. You have this 24/7 drip feed from all the different people uploading, and if you follow a lot of people that keep an eye on what's going on in the world, you will end up driving yourself insane. So you've got to learn when to pull back and to not think of what you're doing as completely useless and devoid, even if it's not giving you any physical gains right now. Rest and relaxation are important. Working out's important. Getting outside's important. Being social with people you trust is important. And there are just a lot of factors that go along with living life. And if you're afraid to be social, you have to start slow. And I'm not going to give you suggestions as to, like, where you should go and cold approaching people and other stuff. That has to be mostly figured out by you with the comfortability levels that you have. I also just don't have experience myself with being extremely social, because I've been in and out of being social, so I can't really give too many suggestions to that. I just know that based on my own experiences, especially childhood, with family being faker than packing peanuts and slower than a parked car about how to be decent human beings, I have lost a lot of trust for people in general. I already had that bad taste in my mouth, and then I became chronically online, just like a lot of other people, and you see all this shit going on and it drives you fucking insane. It really does. The more you let it do it, the worse it will get for you. And you can only blame yourself at that point for putting yourself in that same situation. With going online and watching all this stuff and then allowing your mind to be overtaken, it's like sticking your hand in a toilet full of shit and complaining that your hands are covered in shit. Stop putting your hands in shit to begin with. That's what you're essentially doing with your mind. You're dipping your mind in a shit bath. And you have to start getting pissed at yourself when you do that. Because there's a lot of coddling type things that are put out there. Because this information's more so going to be geared toward men. Because women tend to benefit more from the talk type therapy, where it's like, I understand your feelings. And I coddled myself for too long. And eventually I just started getting pissed once I realized what I was doing to myself. So you literally have to, as a man, be willing to look in the mirror and go, okay, you are dipping your mind in the metaphorical shit bath every single day. Is this really how you want to live the rest of your life? Do you really want to just bitch out at everything for the rest of your life? because suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I've wanted to do that for a long time and kept myself from doing it, even when the urge was like, you can essentially treat it like if you've ever been in a fight or felt your adrenaline up and you're like, I want to punch this motherfucker in the face, and you could just feel your fist starting to come up. That's how I felt with wanting to push the stop button and flick the light switch off, pull the light bulb out, if you know what I mean by that. You have to remove your mind from that space. And the only way that you're going to start doing that is by looking in the mirror and talking to yourself out loud when these things happen and going like, hey, look, dumbass, stop doing this. Stop doing this to yourself. If I'm going to be angry at anything, I need to be angry at myself for allowing my mind to be overtaken by all these things outside of my control that don't help me. You may learn information that actually gives you like useful ways to live your life. If you let the information itself and how depressing that is get to you, then it's not helping you. And if it doesn't serve you, it doesn't deserve. Damn, this speaking shit's hard right now. If it doesn't serve you, it doesn't deserve you. Period. Let me say that again. If it doesn't serve you, it doesn't deserve you. So you've got to learn to be able to pull back, gear up, get to work, man. Get to work. There is no better time to start this than now. There'll be plenty of you that hear this and think, what's the point? Well, what's the point of living the rest of your life in your own shadow? I don't care what you've been through, because I have watched people go through hundreds of times things harder than me, losing children, losing their family, losing their house, almost losing their life due to drug addiction, due to gang violence, due to all sorts of stuff. And they're coming out on top more than I am, with none of that as a factor in my life. I am a single young man with an open template on what I can do and the choices I can make and where I can go. I don't have a lot of money to do those things and never have. I always grew up in a paycheck to paycheck household till I started working myself and got lucky with a job that, funny enough, I'm no longer at, because guess what? It started really fucking with my mental health. Mandatory overtime at a third shift food distribution warehouse. And just watching everybody around you get away with not doing any work at all, and you're doing legitimately 3 times the work that they are if you push yourself hard enough. And it just wasn't worth it, overworking myself like that. When you know that your bosses don't give a shit about what you're doing, you just need to start changing the way that you think about doing jobs in the first place. There is no working for a company for a long period of time and getting all these benefits and moving on up and doing all this stuff. That is a very few and far between thing. People still have it happen, but most of us will not have that happen. Statistics that I've heard essentially put it at, you work at a place for 2 years and then quit and go get a new job, because at that point, that's the only way you're going to make more money. Nobody's giving raises for shit. Everybody's trying to hold back and make your life a living hell because they don't want to put in the work to make things better, whatever the job environment is. College degrees are damn near useless. All those fields are becoming oversaturated. So if you're going to get a degree in the first place, you have to make sure that it is for a job that is so hard needed that even in times of recession or Great Depression, that job will still exist and need to be done. So arts degrees aren't going to be the things that survive. It's going to be engineering degrees, degrees in mathematics, degrees in more physical sciences. Most of your STEM field stuff is going to be safe, but that requires a lot of schooling. Same with medicine. That requires a lot of schooling, but if you have passions for these things and you can start working toward that, then do it. The other example is trades. Trades are huge. Not every trade is created equal. Some trades are going to just need to be had over others, and some of them will not be as recession-proof as people might suggest them to be. It also depends on the specifics that you're doing within each general trade type. It goes on and on. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell it is that I want to do. I just know college wasn't for me, especially from when I tried to start after my graduating year, which was 2019, and my mental health was just absolutely in the gutter. There was no way I was going to be putting through time in college. I literally just said, yeah, I can't handle this. Fuck this shit. Dropped it. You need to learn to be able to, instead of looking in the mirror and go, fuck this shit, fuck life, you need to look in the mirror and look at your mental health and go, fuck this shit, I'm going to be happy from now on. I'm going to work on it. Way easier said than done. Way easier said than done. But here's a way to look at it. Nothing can be done until something's said. So go ahead. Get your grind together, whatever that may be, one step at a time. If you got a room full of trash and you've been sitting on it because, fuck this shit, got cans everywhere, just throw the cans away to start. If you're really that tired, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, just work on getting out of bed in the morning. Work on getting those little things cleaned up. And then once you've got, say you got like 20 empty cans of soda or something like that in your room, energy drinks, whatever it be, just let it pile up, paper plates. Get those stuff thrown out. One can at a time till it's done. That'll take you maybe half an hour at most, unless you've got to, get some other trash cleaned up along the way. The main thing you have to do then is just work on maintaining that throughout time. Each time you finish a can, throw it away. Each time you dirty a dish, wash it. Each time you get an article of dirty clothes, have a basket to put it in. If you can't find one or don't have one, go get one. They're really easy to get. They're cheap, of all kinds. Collapsible ones, actual hard plastic ones. If you have a washer and dryer, that makes things easier. If you don't have that, then you've got to work on being able to get yourself to laundromats and other things figured out. Whatever your situation is, there is a way to work through it. If you are physically capable, if you still have your health, you still have everything else, you have to be able to sit up and do those things. Nothing is stopping you but your own mind at that point. And the more you stop yourself with your own mind, the less you're going to want to do anything in general, and the worse things are going to be. And I say this as a massive hypocrite because I still deal with this. It's not like I've conquered all these things. I very much believe I'll be living with this type of clinical depression and anxiety for the rest of my life. It's just going to be constantly forcing my mind to change perspective. And things aren't as bad as they used to be with my mental health. So I can be very thankful for that. It's not like I'm living the exact same pain in my mind that I lived when I was 16. I'm 23 now, and a lot has changed even in just a year, let alone the 3 years from the psych ward and nearly 8 years of in between having the depression going on, 7 from when all those thoughts started. It's not about necessarily what you can show physically, because all this stuff is material, man. The only thing that you want to be concerned about materially is food and water and a place to sleep at the end of the day. Keeping a roof over your head so that you don't have to worry about battling the elements and having to constantly work off of state welfare and other shit to keep yourself afloat. It's a hard world out there, and I have a feeling it's being designed like this on purpose, I'm not gonna lie. There are vested interests in a lot of this. There's definitely a lot of incompetence, but for people to get in positions of power, I think that requires a high form or some form of intelligence, and for them to say shit that doesn't make sense and be stupid just seems a little too good to be true. Like, you don't have the intelligence of a toddler, you're not an idiot, because you are a senator. You don't just get into stuff like that, you don't just fall into it. You're not just some sorority girl going to every party and, whoops, I'm pregnant. It's not like that. You have to plan for that shit. So, anyway, that's a whole other video, isn't it? So that will conclude this casual convo. And do the most that you can every day. Try your absolute best. Don't give up. Because when you give up on yourself, and the only time that you're truly given up in life is when you're dead. And if you're above ground, you have things you can do. We're all going to die. Doesn't matter if we suffer with suicide or if we're the happiest person on planet Earth with everything that we ever wanted. We all die. Why waste your life up to that point? People on their deathbed regret the things that they kept putting off. Don't just slave away for a company that doesn't give a shit about you. Work hard. I mean, get money when you can. Work smart, though. And even that's easier said than done, especially depending on where you live. Like if you're in New York City or something like that. So you've got to look at your situation, and if things really are that bad living, whether it's like no matter how hard I'm trying, there are ways to get things done. The Greyhound bus system's still around. Things take time. Everything's easier said than done, but nothing can be done until something is said. Take care to you all. God bless you all, whether or not you believe or do believe. Keep pushing and quit dipping your mind in the metaphorical shit bath, because it's not worth it. We could be on the precipice of nuclear war. You could be watching an ICBM about to hit your neighborhood, and it's not going to do you any good by being like, oh, fuck! It's woo-saw. Whoop, and then the explosion happens. So things outside of your control are not worth trying to control in your mind. The only thing you can control is yourself, what you say, how you respond, what your perspectives are, the things that you do on your daily basis, the people you talk to, the people you don't talk to, the people you give time to, the people you waste time with. It's all a balance. Anyway, I'm going to shut my ass up now. Take care, go get something done. Watch another video that actually, inspires you and gets you moving. Don't get stuck in the news cycle. Don't empty your wallet out at the first sign of panic over things and whatnot. Things have to get a lot worse before they get better. It's going to be rough. If you think it's bad now, it will get worse in terms of what's going on in the world. So you have to steel yourself now. The more work you do on yourself, the better you'll be able to respond to everything around you. Peace out.